What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Links Lines Podcast. It's Darren AG, and in this one, we want to talk about black men and the relationships they have with women or women in their life. So there's a few things that we kind of wrote down. So we're just gonna kind of just go back and forth on some of the points that we had. And the reason why I think this topic is important is because there's been so much content out there, like red pill, blue pill, like all this relationship content, all this different stuff, but number one, I think that there's a lot of just one-sidedness, like from both arguments, like blue pill, whatever people think they're whatever, right? Modern women on their side or independent women think they have their points, and red pill has their points. But I think that we're missing a lot of the things that I guess are a part of building those relationships in the first place. Like we're talking about a lot of things that people do as adults after having made a lot of decisions and having experiences and things like that. But I think there's a lot of foundational stuff that impacts that dynamic between black men and black women. And that's what AJ and I want to talk on in this episode a little bit. So one of the first things that I thought about when we were kind of brainstorming this topic was how black men are often overpowered by important female figures in their life, whether that's a grandmother, mother, aunt, great aunt, it could be a sister. There's just this, I mean, as a lot of people know, like there's the stigma for black women to be strong and dominant and aggressive and even masculine in some degree. And a lot of times, again, unfortunately, a lot of us have been raised in single mother households, single parent households, but specifically single mother households. And because our women try to or need to wear multiple hats in the house and take on the disciplinarian responsibilities and the financial responsibilities and also the caring and the loving role and the nurturing role and pretty much trying to do it all while also more than likely dealing with her own things, her own issues, situations, trauma, failed relationships. It could be depression, living paycheck to paycheck. There's a ton of different complicated things that a single mother could be feeling or going through while raising a son. And a lot of that can directly or indirectly get projected out onto that son. And so I just think that when a lot of young black men start out with that sort of dynamic with the most important woman or women in their life, it sets us up or behind for later communication with black women in relationships or otherwise any other type. Yeah.
It's definitely delayed. Being someone that I'm not a mama's boy, but most of our men are mama's boys, especially because we talking about single mothers. So think about the whole son-husband concept. Not every dude that grew up with his mom is a son-husband, but you're going to want to take care of your mom. You're going to want to get her out of that tough situation. You're going to want to get her together. That's just a goal. So then we do become that by default. I think the pressure when our single mothers have to tap into their masculine side and play both roles, that's got to be exhausting. You know what I'm saying? Women create life, so I know that they can handle a lot on their bodies. That doesn't mean that they should though. So it does, turn on us, and then when we get into it, I'm speaking for myself, and I know you, so I'm speaking on our behalf. But when we get into relationships, I feel like that's part of the reason why we be going all in, because we want to show our moms that we can be the man that they designed us to be for our woman, and show them that life. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it, especially in some of the cases that I know. It's a very rocky situation because now we're sitting here trying to be everything for these particular young ladies, but we're not necessarily everything for ourselves yet. Being in relationships heavy relationships all through your 20s and your early 30s or your teens, like basically from 18 to 35. I feel like that's when we find the purest love, when it's like that what's the word I'm looking for? That like like unconditional love. I don't see unconditional love necessarily happening after you've hit a certain status, because then it's conditioned. But when you find that girl or that guy that's down for you when you were literally not even knowing who yourself was at all, that's that person, you know what I'm saying, that really was rocking with you. But I was just simply saying that the pressure from being a good dude to these women from growing up with a single mom is a real thing in the black community.
Yeah, I like that perspective. And then another thing that I know I personally have had to work on is that my mom was very overly dominant, or like this domineering personality that we talk about. So I've learned over the years that I have issues with boundaries. Like I've had to work a lot on my boundaries with women because I never felt like I had good communication with my mom in terms of her respecting when I needed certain things. Like whether it was me expressing myself or whatever it might be. It's just that when you don't ever feel like the other person is, when you don't feel heard, I guess, or feel like the other person is going to respect your boundary, even if you have one, that has knock-on effects too. Like I had a people pleasing phase in my life.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? And that is a negative trait. I'm sure ladies out there can attest to this, but it's a negative trait because while, for me, I didn't even understand that I had a boundary problem, right? Like this is just the way that you've always responded to certain things or expectations of you. But you know, but what other people can see, I'm not gonna say what women see, but what other people can see is that someone who's like not willing to do what they want to, like you don't have the strength to make your own decisions, like do what you want to do. Like you'll go out of your way to do for other people, but then what do you want, right? So again, this doesn't have to just be intimate relationships. This can be just any sort of platonic relationships, friendships, whatever. But boundaries are important, and boundary setting and making it very clear with people is super important, and that's like male, female, business relationships. Like I said, platonic, intimate, it doesn't matter. Friendships, super important. And I just think that's my personal experience, but I imagine, because I know a lot of people who also were raised in single mother households where the mom has a very similar personality or communication style, and that masculine domineering personality, it really can skew a man's idea of boundaries with a woman. And it's your mother too, a lot of times, or your grandmother, or a woman you really respect. So what are you gonna do? Like turn up on her, like yell at her and cuss her out? Do exactly like we're never gonna do that. So it's crazy. It almost creates this expectation that this is how it's supposed to be. Your woman's supposed to be yelling at you, or she's supposed to be talking to you a certain way or saying certain things, because the woman that we value the most at a very formative or early age is like, that's the way they're communicating with us. So I can't even lie. Like, the attraction to a woman who has a smart mouth, or like even just that sort of demeanor where no man wants to be disrespected, right? But there is an attraction to the mindset and personality of the black woman stereotypes that we talk about. Some of the aggressive things, aggression, masculinity, be like all those things can be a turn on to a degree, but why? And that's kind of the thing that we're getting at here, is like I really do feel like, and again, this is my personal opinion, but I do think that it does become normalized to a degree, women talking to men a certain way when you've been raised by women that treated you that way as a man. And I can see how those things, we start to identify those patterns in women, like as we get older, because it's the only way we've kind of seen certain things be done. So I'm not saying it's healthy at all. We're just here to have the conversation. I'm not saying that's healthy, but I do think it's an element we have to keep in mind when we're talking about this dynamic between black males and females.
So the whole independent, strong woman attraction for me is there. I definitely am attracted to women that have their own opinion, that have their own mind. It's not about them having their own money and all that, because we can work all that out. But if you do have your own money, you have your own things going on, that's all fine and dandy. I'm talking about from a character perspective. I definitely had a pushover phase myself, kind of people pleasing as well. But once I got out of that, I actually appreciate a woman that's like, that can say no. Mm-hmm. Not even just to me, but just in general. Like, instead of getting like overwhelmed by everything that's coming at you in life, you can literally just be like, no, I'm good. No, I got to do this. No, it's not in my schedule. I like that. I get that from my mom. She is always someone that, she's a very nice lady, but she can get tight with you. And I've seen her do that so much in life that I feel like you whatever you're around, you're gonna appreciate that. So when I'm dealing with young ladies, that it's not the smart mouth that I'm attracted to, it's the confidence. Because the smart mouth tip, like, that's gonna put me in a situation where I'm gonna get smart too, and I don't like that. I'm not trying to ever compete with my woman. However, I'm an independent man, and I'm a natural competitor. And I've learned in life, and trials and tribulations and different relationships that I've had, that my competitive side, when it enters the relationship, it comes from a place where I feel like I gotta protect myself from allowing my woman to emasculate me. So, but I also know that I will never out-argue a woman. I'm never gonna win that. It's impossible. Any man in a heterosexual relationship, you not gonna out-argue your, or not even just relationships, just your sister, your cousin, whatever. Like, arguing, I feel like you just never win. And that's not even, I don't even like to get there, but I've gone there. I attempted to win in life, and that is the most exhausting stuff ever, excuse me. But that comes from being raised by an independent woman. You see those characteristics instilled on you. Like, my mom, she's a tough one. I used to get punched in the chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's not playing. But if my woman I'm dating hits me, it's totally different. Yeah, I don't want the woman I'm dating to hit me, but I would accept the woman I'm dating to speak up on something that she doesn't like. You don't got to yell at me either, but if I'm doing something that you don't like, at least tell me. You don't got to go, outlet it in different ways, because that's the one thing that my mom did. She would say what we did wrong and why we were getting punished. I do appreciate that. I hated the punishments, but I'm saying them having to dive in both those roles can cause them to have different tactics.
Yeah, great points right there. And then just continuing to piggyback off this single motherhood thing, is it's a topic we already kind of introduced. As you already touched on, them being like our mothers, or just single black mothers in general, typically raising boys to be what their father wasn't in their mind, or what they wanted him to be.
Even though you're his bloodline.
Exactly. And so by doing that, I feel like men get feminized, because it's like they, at times try to mold us into this, whatever they have in their mind as a good man, another woman's gonna want. Your mom's trying to make you that. She's trying to mold you to do those things. And if you're a cat that respects your mom, you're gonna like listen. You know what I mean? You're like, it's not So I think a lot of women out here don't understand why dudes are a certain way. They really don't get it. They don't understand it. That's been ingrained in a lot of cats from a very early age. I can't speak for everybody, but I know that for me and a lot of people that I know that is just the way that you're kind of taught to treat women or whatever when from a very young age. So you don't even understand until you start dating on your own where the problems lie.
Yeah.
Right? Like us as men, we get left for being too nice and being too this and too that and all these different things. And so those are things that we have to realize were probably taught to us backwards as we get older. It's not something that just like clicks one day or that just makes sense. And some people never figure it out. But the reality is that like you were raised to be a hurt woman's wish list. Like at the end of the day, like I mean, the relationship didn't work out. They obviously desired it to. I mean, I don't think most women intend to be single moms or like go into it wanting to be single moms. It just ends up being that way. And like I said, there could be whatever sort of trauma issues, depression that come behind that for them. But directly or indirectly, I think that a lot of it, they try to raise us to kind of fill those gaps that they wanted in a man or whatever man they never actually found. And that isn't necessarily what serves us the best going into life. Now, mind you, that's also a problem with a woman trying to raise a man is that you don't know. And that's my other point is that we also not having, if you don't have a male figure, not just your father, but a male figure to give you a different perspective to female emotions and how women think and how women are, how they operate, like, and from experience, years of experience more than you will have to find out for yourself. I'm only a child as well, so I don't have brothers, like older brothers that could tell me certain things and stuff like that either. So I feel like I had to find out through my own experiences with women. And that's just what it is. But without having a man to kind of tell you it's okay to do certain things and it's okay to feel a certain way and it's okay to communicate in a certain way. And so, I mean, to handle how you should handle certain things, like it just, if that's absent, it can create more challenges for black men in communicating with black women. And if the man isn't willing to work on that within himself, I mean, obviously the woman has to work on herself as well too, her communication style and that aggression, all those other things is accountability on both sides for that. But I would just say that I do think that hinders sometimes like it can hinder a black man's maturity in communicating with black women.
Yeah, because we get caught up in competing for who is the dominant one. I'm trying to win this argument with you or this yelling match with you or this and that with you. We're both naturally aggressive. We're both naturally loud. We both naturally have these attributes and we're negatively using them in order because of the communication style is not there. And a lot of us men that I know and you know, we do what? Suppress our feelings. While girls, they live off of their feelings. So your woman can be sitting here telling you, I feel like you're not treating me right. I feel like you're neglecting me. I feel like you don't love me the same, right? Your girl can say that to you all day. We're taught to shut up and suck it up, basically. I'm speaking for dudes from the inner city. I'm speaking from dudes who come from a different background. So when I got into a relationship where communication was like, I didn't even know how to do it for real. I had to learn it. And then by the time I learned it, this shit's too late. We done butted heads so tough that it's like, damn, I really wish in that situation I would have handled myself totally different. I grew up around a lot of yelling. So to me, yelling was a form of communication.
Exactly.
And basically, whoever was the loudest was the winner. You know what I'm saying? And like having to be older and think about that, it's like, damn. It's not what we was talking about before. Like that's actual yelling I'm talking
and
about.
Hurtful, like loud. Like I would say loud, but I mean, tell me how you feel about this too. But like we say hurtful things, like when we get in these heated arguments, we start getting loud, and it's almost like the person who says the most hurtful thing also wins. Like they're all like, you know what I mean? Like it starts getting bad too. So that's also a very unhealthy pattern of communicating. I just want to throw it in there though.
Yeah, that pattern of communication, I feel like that comes from a level of oppression where you have to we're in a time where men are feminized and women are masculine. And the dynamic is so wacky. So when you get into relationships, you are like, now us as men, it's more like me. I wash dishes, I cook, I clean. You know what I'm saying? I also get money too though, but I don't necessarily, in my relationships, we don't necessarily have gender roles like they used to. Where it's like, okay, the man goes, gets all the money, works, and then the lady stays home and clean. No, we both get to it. We both paying on bills and stuff. Now, that's because I've dealt with women who want to do those things. They don't have to do those things, but they want to do those things because they also want to feel, I kind of feel like on the ladies' side, sometimes feeling like, okay, I'm in this man's house or I'm in this man's space. Some women can't handle that. Some of our women don't. They went to college. They want to show, okay, I got this degree, I got this, I got that. Like, I don't need no man, but I want a man. So then when you get with a man, you're not trying to live the traditional way. And that can be that can be a tough environment to survive. The relationship won't thrive in that type of environment. Especially now, if y'all can figure it out where y'all both get money, you delegating the task with communication, you're clear on it. But we're not taught to move like that. And a lot of us bump our heads and we be losing good girls, or good girls lose us because we couldn't get it right like that. So